Mr. President, 2020 has been a difficult year for so many. We have lost far too many mothers and fathers, sons and daughters, sisters, brothers, neighbors, and friends. My own heart and the heart of many in Delaware grew heavier this week as we said goodbye in Delaware to a whole series of friends, folks who had long been champions of our community, folks who were exactly the sort of people who help build and sustain community. And I'm grateful for the privilege of the floor to speak for a few minutes about the legacy of these Lions of Delaware, these folks who were giants of service and who gave their hearts to us. On Monday, we said goodbye to Elaine and Wayne Manlove, who were loved by so many. And I rise first to pay tribute to them, some of the most special people I've ever known. They were killed in a tragic accident literally the day before last Tuesday's election. That day we lost two of Delaware's greatest diamonds, Mary Elaine Manlove and Lambert Wayne Manlove. From Hockessin and Ocean View, it was always striking. They went not by their first names, but by their middle names. They were known as Elaine and Wayne Manlove. These are proud patriots, people dedicated to our state and community who spent decades giving to others. Elaine I knew best in her role as state elections commissioner and as someone who fought hard here for funding for election security and election systems. The very last time I saw her, she was proudly showing off the brand new statewide election system in Delaware. She didn't tragically get to see the fruits of her labor, the deployment of these new state-of-the-art digital voting machines. Her many professional achievements in that role, increasing our voter rolls, modernizing the machines, bringing elections to the classrooms, carrying off just this last Tuesday a near flawless statewide election. While impressive, was just a very small part of who Elaine was. Deeply proud of her Irish heritage, known for her kindness and her generosity, her Irish Catholic faith that she and Wayne shared was a foundation for them and for their family and their lives. St. Patrick's Day in Wilmington was often the highlight. Elaine was one of the folks who helped organize the annual St. Patrick's Day Mass and breakfast, a breakfast that raised money for the St. Patrick Center that serves some of the neediest and most marginalized in Wilmington, but a breakfast that was a celebration of the intersection of faith and politics, service, hope, and community. My own wife, Annie, worked with Elaine for years in Newcastle County government, long before her time as the state elections commissioner, and they remained close for years afterwards. Annie knew her as the best mom and grandmother and friend to so many people. And Margaret Aiken, one of Elaine's closest friends, who also served with her with my wife in county government, said Elaine never sought the spotlight. She never tried to be the center of attention. She was like a warm fire that you just gravitated towards. She wasn't the life of the party. She was the reason for the party. Elaine had a special and giving spirit that had a lasting and transformative difference on thousands of Delawareans, from Kirkwood soccer to the county to her work for elections to her deep commitment to her faith, her family, and her community. Wayne, her husband of 51 years, was a union electrician, a proud member of IBEW Local 313 for 53 years. And Wayne loved hosting neighborhood dinners, annual crab feasts, watching his beloved Eagles with family and friends, and confounding his son because he could never get his players straight. He loved sharing the Eagles with all three of his sons. For Wayne and Elaine, their sons, Matthew, Joe, and Michael, were the beginning, middle, and end. The sun rose and set on their boys. And they took huge delight in sharing stories about them with everyone who would sit still and listen. And they did everything it took to put them through college and through parochial education. They sacrificed hugely for their children, and it made a lasting difference in their lives. Once Elaine and Wayne were your friends, they were always your friends. They brought together people from grade school, from high school, from work, from all different walks of life, and they were strongly rooted in and connected to St. Elizabeth's Parish, where Elaine was baptized, where they were married, where they just last year renewed their vows for their 50th wedding anniversary, and where on Monday hundreds of us gathered to wish them farewell. So my condolences, my deep and heartfelt condolences go out to Matthew and Megan, to Joe, to Michael and Mary, to Elaine's brother Grant and wife Ruth, and the four grandchildren who gave them such joy, Catherine, Elizabeth, Margaret, and Finnegan. I turn now to considering another Delawarean and friend, someone I knew for decades who exemplified character and bravery and integrity, Mike Rush, Edward Michael Rush, Jr., who passed away late last month from Bear, but someone who always rose to the tasks and challenges at hand. A Marine Corps veteran, a small business owner, a firefighter, a member of the American Legion, a stalwart of his parish, and a great friend. A proud graduate of Salesianum High School, Goldie Beacom College, and proprietor and leader of a family-owned business, Rush Uniform. He started working there in 1963, and he helped build and lead his family-owned business for decades. I first really got to know Mike through the Better Business Bureau, where he and his family sponsored an award for ethical behavior by family-owned businesses. He sponsored the Edward M. Rush Senior Memorial Award. But Mike was also someone whose whole heart was in the fire service. The volunteer fire service of Delaware is one of the backbones of communities up and down our state, and he was a life member of 2 volunteer fire companies, 50 years with Wilmington Manor, 33 years with Christiana, president of the Newcastle County Volunteer Fire Chiefs Association, president of the Delaware Valley Fire Chiefs Association, and then ultimately, while I was county executive, president of the Delaware State Fire Chiefs Association. Mike was also someone who did the hard work of being a fire school instructor for our state for 30 years. Mike did so much for so many others, through his parish, through his fire company, through his training service, through his service to our nation in the military. He's earned accolades for his decades of bravery and his commitment to our community, but more than anything, because I was not able to make it to his service, I wanted to share my condolences and the gratitude of our state and nation for Mike's wife of 45 years, Winnie, his sisters Barbara and Catherine, his children Megan and Barbara, and his beloved grandson Seamus. Let me now turn to another anchor of another community in our state and offer greetings and condolences to the family and the beloved of Pastor Lottie LeeDavis, an ordained minister from the east side of Wilmington, a hallmark of resiliency and faith, a preacher's daughter, a voice for the voiceless, and a beacon of hope for many. Her friend Alethea Smith Tucker told our Delaware News Journal that it was unending how many people Pastor Davis had touched and encouraged without judgment and without regard. She was the devoted pastor at Be Ready, Jesus is Coming Church and answered the call to serve beyond the confines of the pulpit. She provided housing for single mothers and their children. She led efforts to renovate parks for the community, and she recently garnered funding to build a mixed-use property just a block from her church to provide housing for those in need. Sadly, that which she launched, she will not get to see come to fruition in this life, but I'm confident that Pastor Davis will continue to inspire and engage and move the community of Wilmington, the congregation she helped lead, and the families that will benefit for years to come from her vision and her leadership of this project she's just launched. Her legacy will continue to live through her work. I wanted to give my condolences to her husband, Flolandis, to her daughter, Amira, to members of the congregation, family, and friends. Last but certainly not least, this past week we lost someone beloved to me and to so many in the Hockessin community, Gloria Corrozi. Gloria was a mainstay of one of the landmark couples of our state for decades. Gloria spent 30 years working at DuPont, and like so many of her generation who had a successful career at DuPont, she also was engaged in lots and lots of other community activities, engagements, and service. She spent a lot of her life also helping the Delaware chapter of the American Diabetes Association, served as co-chair, and raised tens of thousands of dollars year after year after year for this important cause. But frankly, her great joy was her family. her beloved husband of 55 years, Phil Corrozi, someone who was an incredible mentor and friend to me at work, at home, and in public service. Phil was an elected Republican, chairman of the Budget Committee, leader in our state General Assembly, and someone who, with Gloria's tireless affection and support, crafted lasting solutions for our state. Gloria was a blessing to an incredible network of friends and family, nieces and nephews, all of whom knew her as Aunt Gloria. And I had the opportunity to get to know her best in the decade I spent working with Phil at a global manufacturing firm in Delaware. But Phil Corrozi, frankly, was someone who, when he gave his heart to a cause, Gloria was right alongside him and often pushing him. For a woman who never had children of her own, Gloria had so many people who knew her and thought of her as a second mother. My heart goes out to Gloria's family and friends who today gathered at St. Anthony of Padua Church in Wilmington to say their final goodbyes to this gracious, kind, funny, giving, loving, powerful woman whose witness was an important influence on my life, as well as so many others. Mr. President, these are just some of the individuals our community has lost this year. Delaware is a state of neighbors, and we all feel these losses profoundly. But there was a strong common thread amongst those I have just honored and those who have been a gift to our state. I want to return to a powerful message that Joe, Wayne and Elaine Manlove's son, gave in a eulogy just Monday at St. Elizabeth's Church. It was funny, it was memorable, it was wide-ranging, it was personal, it was touching. But at the conclusion, Joe said this: "While today is sad and painful, and so unexpected for all of us, I want to leave you," Joe said, "with this thought. When you leave here today thinking of my parents and feeling the void in your life, do the following. Join a civic committee. Help organize your kids' Little League. Volunteer for something you care about. Help a neighbor at a home project. And when some email comes out saying we need people to help, respond that you're in. Do all of it without a thought of compensation. Do it because it's the right thing to do. Do it because you want to improve the world around you. Do it because there's nothing more powerful than the heart of a volunteer." That was them, Wayne and Elaine. But that was also Mike and Lottie and Gloria and so many other friends and neighbors who've helped weave together across different backgrounds, different political parties, different places of origin, and different communities. They've weaved together a state of neighbors and left a lasting legacy that we love one another as we've been called to do. May we continue to be grateful for their legacies of service and live lives that would make them and their families proud. Mr. President, thank you. With that, I yield the floor.